Anica, mi da se idemo kod Hajnca Fišera. On sa kancelarijama je ovde. On je jedan od najstarijih političara, je li tako? Izuzetno umeren.
Možda nije najstariji, ali jedan od najcenjenijih političara posle njegove dugotrajne političke karijere. To je jedan sinonim za politički integritet. Ne samo pripadnici njegovog političkog pokreta misle tako, nego i svi drugi. Mi dolazimo kod njega u njegov biro, Mun Centru, evo sad ćemo pripomniti.
Evo ovde piše, evo ovde, to je Mun Centru i ovde sedi Hajnc Fišer. Pa došli smo na vreme, jel da? 11 je sad.
Eine Matzka Deuler, ich komme mit der RTS-Redakteurin zum Hajnc Fišer.
Ja, danke.
Danke vielmals.
Türe geöffnet. Türe geöffnet.
Idemo liftom?
Da. Koji mir.
Da. Vrlo opmena zgrada.
Lepa.
This is the Cadillac Tito got from Eisenhower, and it is on Brioni where Tito had his summer residence.
Do you know that this car is still on Brioni?
Yes, this picture was taken 7 years ago or 8 years ago. In August 2010, Tito's Cadillac.
Let me ask you
This is the German President Steinmeier and the Foreign Minister of Luxembourg, and my wife and I and myself. Every picture is the Pope in the presidential office in Vienna.
It's beautiful. You have been twice president.
12 years, 2 times 6 years.
Tell me, was it difficult?
No, it was not, because all people were very kind, and at my second election I had 79.5% of the votes, so it was comfortable.
Do you know that the people are repeating to me this percentage, which is really a kind of a belief in a president? You know, when they show such a thing, it's a kind of emotional thing.
In my first election I had 52%. And in the second, 79. This was a progress.
All the way?
All the way?
Yes.
All the way with LBJ, do you know?
I will show you. Nekada za snimanje morate preduzeti sve da bi dočarali ono što hoćemo da vam pokažemo. Ova stolica za gospodina Hajnca Fišera. Jel tako? Tako. Okay, here it is. So, you sit here.
Yeah.
And now try to remember the pictures. U ovoj knjizi nalazi se kompletan život gospodina Hajnca Fišera. Ovdje je na slici sa njegovom suprugom, što ukazuje da iza svakog čoveka stoji definitivno jedna žena. Ovdje se nalaze sve njegove aktivnosti i definitivno sedim preko puta čoveka koji je poznat po svojoj umerenosti, svojoj širini i po tome da je, kada je bio predsjednik, a bio je predsjednik 2 puta, bio izuzetno poštovan od svojih glasača. I just explained to the viewers that I'm holding this book, Where is Your Life?
Somehow, 12 years.
12
Not
years.
the whole life.
Yes, but you are in this book with your wife.
True. Look at the back side.
At the back side,
It was her birthday.
the importance of your wife in your life. Tell me.
It's my secret.
Tell me some
But
of the secrets.
It's very high, yes. We are married since 1968, September 68. These are now 32 plus 22 is 54 years. And every second day we say it was the best decision we both have taken, she and me.
Tell me, when you have some hesitations in life, you know, usually somebody who knows you very well can help you to decide.
Yeah, I mean, again, I have to say, Margit is the central figure in my life as my partner, as my wife, as a very wise political woman, as somebody who has a lot of knowledges in our family or in our environment. Much more things are done by Margit than it would be in other marriages. Every important political decision is taken together with my wife. I remember, for instance, the situation when the party leader of the Social Democratic Party asked me whether I would be ready to be the candidate for the presidential elections. And I said, yes, I will discuss it with my wife. And he said, but please do me a favor, ask for the support of the mayor of Vienna, because the mayor of Vienna is a very important figure. So I asked a few days later the mayor of Vienna, and he said to me, what is Margit saying to this idea? I said, she agrees. So the mayor said, well, then I also agree. And he wrote this in his memoirs, so it's not only my memory, but it's also his memory. And this is a good example.
Your experience is enormous, and your moderate way of handling things. It's very, very specific how you handle things with such a kind of peace and such a kind of very mature thinking. This is what is the characteristic of your way of politics. That's why in this situation where we are now, there is this huge lack of any kind of intelligence, good thinking, and love for human beings. You know what I mean? It's a very, very, very unusual situation. How do you see it?
Well, I mean, you're probably right if you say I'm mature, because I'm born 38. I'm 84 years old. I have seen a lot. I have been a schoolboy during the Nazi period, during World War II. I remember the bombing of Vienna and the marching in of Red Army in March, April 1945, and the reconstruction of our country. I had some additional source of political thinking, because my father was also politically engaged. He was a Staatssekretär, a Secretary of State, when the State Treaty was discussed and decided in 1955. He was a member of the government, and he knew that I was interested on these things. with 16, 17, 18, 19 years. And then in a small country like Austria, you know all relevant people, but I was also good friend with Mr. Popper, the philosopher, or with scientists. I was for some years Minister of Science and Research. This was also a very interesting period for me. And then in the age of 37, I became the leader of the parliamentary group of the Social Democratic Party. You have to be balanced and to be fair and just, to lead a big group in the parliament. The Social Democratic parliamentary group had an absolute majority of more than 50% of the seats, so you have quite a responsibility. And then I was 12 years Speaker of the Austrian Parliament, and the Speaker has to be balanced, and he has to be a president for each political group, and not only for your own party. And finally, 12 years President.
Tell me, do you think it is in you that you feel this kind of a balance? Do you think it's your nature to be balanced, or you can learn to be balanced?
Well, my father also was balanced, and it's to a certain degree, it's by nature. I must tell you, maybe I'm balanced, but sometimes I'm impatient.
Are you?
Yeah, if I don't like if somebody is not on time. I myself try to be, so to say, exact with appointments, and if things need too long, I go on, and this you must not hide, or I don't want to hide it. Balanced, I'm in my political judgment, and in looking at other people, and in making decisions and thinking a second time or a third time. But impatience, this should be less developed in me.
How do you see this situation? You know, people are talking about the possible Third World War. And I'm coming from a kind of a country which is always a kind of a turbulence, you know. And all the time something is happening, and always there's a kind of uncertainty, what is going to happen, this and that. Do we belong to Europe? Do we belong to Balkans? Are we East Balkan, West Balkan, this and that? You know, sometimes when I say where I'm from, you know, I'm thinking, okay, I know I'm from Serbia, I know that I'm from Belgrade, but looking around in a kind of international politics, I'm in a kind of a very turbulent zone, you know.
True.
But all the time, you know, all the time. When it's going to end? Are we going to become a Europe? Are we? When? This with Ukraine, it's so complicated, everything. How do you see it? Do you have any advice or anything?
It's complicated, it's sad, it's disappointing, but you still have to use your experience, your knowledge of other human beings, your balance, to try to find a reasonable answer. Nobody can look into the future. I often study prognosis from earlier times. What did human beings in this part of Europe know in the year 1900 about 1920? They couldn't know that the World War came, that the monarchies collapsed, that the map of Europe was totally changed. And what did we know in 1920 about 1940? We couldn't know that the World War was starting, that the German army in 1940 was full-fledged engaged in a world war, and soon after they would even invade Russia. And Hitler was on top of his power. And what did we know in 1940 about 1960? The post-war development, that Eastern Europe was totally changed in comparison with the time before the war. America and Russia were superpower and with inconceivable arms, namely nuclear bombs, etc. And therefore, we cannot exactly look what will be in 20 years. What I can say is that the decision of Putin to invade Ukraine was his biggest mistake in his political life. He really underestimated the problem, and he overestimated the chances from such a step, because the reality now, when we speak together in Vienna, is very much different what Putin may have expected in the middle of February when he took this terrible decision. He probably believed that will be a conflict of 2 weeks or 4 weeks, and then it will be finished, and he will be the so to say the de facto leader of a much bigger Russian Federation, and Ukraine will be under his control, etc. This was a miscalculation. It is a very sad miscalculation. It creates turbulences I cannot tell in 1 or 2 sentences. It has a global impact, but if you bluntly ask me whether I'm afraid of a third world war with atomic weapons, I say I do not believe that this is an option with a probability that we have to be afraid. I cannot say I exclude it by 1000%, but I can say, in my judgment, a world war with atomic weapons was avoided in the very difficult time of the 50s and the 60s, and it will be avoided in the next 50 years, my hope.
You said that Putin made mistakes. Do you think that his mistakes are coming exactly from his power, where people which are around him are afraid of him? And then, because they are afraid, they don't give him the right facts. You know, and there is a kind of a misjudgment, because if you are very, very big autocrat and very powerful, and you, in fact, the informations which are coming to you and to that person, any person, are limited. People are afraid.
What you just said is a lesson of history since 2000 years. I'm convinced that leaders in the antique period, in the time of Roman emperors, suffered already, like Nero, Roman emperor, under this phenomenon. And leaders in the medium ages suffered from that. If you are a human being and you have too much power for too long time, and no people who tell you and confront you with the truth, then you come in such a situation as Mussolini was, and probably Stalin was, and Putin is, and other dictators in the world have been for centuries and centuries misled because they had no challenge of other opinions. They had not the balance of power and corrections against their thinking. You need, as a human being, others who confront you with other options, with other facts, with other ways to go, and Putin obviously is missing that.
Tell me, have you been under a big pressure during your presidency?
No. In a real functioning democracy, and Austria is a functioning democracy, I have not been under pressure. I mean, some decisions were easy, some were less easy, some were under influence from the economic side, or some were under influence from trade unions. But to be under pressure I cannot complain in that direction.
No.
No.
I have a feeling that you can handle, with your temperament, you can handle any pressure.
Yeah, I mean, probably if we would have more time, we have to define what is pressure. I mean, I understand pressure as a very heavy impact on you, which makes it difficult to follow your thinking and your responsibility because you are pushed from one side very hard. And in that sense, I was not pushed very hard. And the Austrian president has quite a lot of constitutional rights and duties, but everything is balanced. I'm a fan of the Austrian constitution. I love our constitution because it's a very wise constitution. Hans Kelsen had a lot of experience, and it is now more than 100 years old. We lost it in 1933. We lost even the existence of Austria as such in 1938. We reanimated our constitution in April 1945. We developed it and made it more modern, and we changed it, and it was influenced by our membership in the European Union, and it was modernized. But now the Austrian constitution, as it stands today, is an excellent constitution.
The situation with Serbia is that we are definitely under the pressure. We are in the pressure to take sides, you know, to take sides. To take sides with Russia, or to take sides with the European Union. And it's a specific situation, you know. Yeah. One is politics, the other is what people feel like, and I'm in a kind of a, you know, I think it's a difficult situation.
It is. It is. It is. And it often was in the last 100 years.
It's coming back, you know.
Yeah.
Like nothing happened in between. Do you have any advice? Do you have any advice?
I observe the developments in Serbia, and I observed already the developments when Yugoslavia was still existing as a federation. I had a lot of interest. I knew very well Vlado Dedijer, for instance, who wrote the biography on Tito. I had many discussions. He worked in Vienna in the National Library on his books. Gustav Vlahov, for instance, was a fantastic ambassador from Yugoslavia, several foreign ministers. And then came the difficult time when Yugoslavia collapsed and had a civil war. That's always difficult. Austria also had a civil war, but our civil war had maybe 200-300 people killed. In your civil war there were thousands or 10,000s and lots of victims. I would say economic and social stability is a very important factor. If you want to stabilize a country, you need a minimum of economic stability and social justice. You need the rule of law. If you want to be a modern democratic state, you need rule of law, you need the possibility to control the government, you need freedom for press, you need independent press, independent television, and you need a balanced foreign policy. And I have understanding that Serbia has relations and good relations to Russia. On the other hand, Serbia is a European candidate, a European state and a candidate for EU membership. I hope this can be accelerated, because if the Western Balkan countries would be in the European Union, it would be a real stabilizing factor. It's true, the decision-making procedure in the European Union would become more difficult. If you have 26, 27 members, it's more difficult than with 12 members. And if you have 33 members, it's more difficult than with 27 members. But the European Union is not completed until the countries of the Western Balkan are united in the European Union. And together with a functioning democracy, and together with social justice and stability, things would be developing in the right direction.
Okay, you know many people. Can you push it that they hurry up of accepting us to European Union? You know, we are waiting. They always say, next year, in 2 years, in 3 years, and you always feel that you are, you know, like for example, if you would promise me an interview, and I'm waiting in front of your door, and you postpone it. Thanks God, you never postponed it.
That's not good.
It's not good, right?
Yeah, but I think there is a chance that things now develop a little bit quicker, because this is an alarming situation what happened in the Ukraine, and this war and this situation is putting more pressure on the unification and stabilization of Europe.
I would like, you know, next time when I come, that everything is sorted out, that when we are having you know, that we have a tea or coffee, and that
you want a coffee?
No, I had it. So I would like that you remember in your career, that you do remember on the very specific meetings with leaders.
Mm-hmm.
In this book, I have, how many leaders you met up to now? What do you think?
I can tell you, I didn't count it, but I know that in the 12 years I made 171 official visits in other countries.
Everything is here. Everything is here.
Not everything. There are many.
Not everything?
No, of course not. Mm-hmm. Of course not.
First of all,
Is this Kissinger?
Oh yes.
He was my teacher in Harvard.
Yes.
I
met him, you know.
In Harvard in 1967 at a postgraduate international seminar, and Henry Kissinger. And since then, I'm in good relations with him. I visited many times the General Assembly of the United Nations, and every time I was in New York, I met Henry for a meeting, and we still exchange letters, and he sends me book with his signatures or dedications. And
I heard that it maybe can happen a kind of a conference that he might come to Vienna.
Who told you that?
I heard that.
No, it's true.
I heard it, you know where? In London I heard that.
American foundations working on that idea, and always saying eventually Mr. Kissinger will also participate. But my personal opinion is that he will stay in New York and take care of his health, and eventually send a message via video. But I don't think that the probability that with 96 years he's flying to Vienna is very low.
I think so. But imagine if he surprises us and he comes to Vienna.
Would be nice. He would be most welcome. Look, this is your book. Okay?
Mine?
Yes.
Forever?
Forever. At least least for the next 100 years, let's say.
Thank you. U ovoj knjizi nalazi se sve ono o čemu smo razgovarali i to je najbolji dokazni materijal o nečijem postojanju i načinu mišljenja, otvorenosti i nekoga ko se ne seća da je ikada bio pod pritiskom. To je čovek koji je vladao u 2 mandata Austrijom. Ovde možemo da kažemo da smo došli po nezavisna mišljenja. Tell me, if somebody would tell you to recall something on Yugoslavia, or not Serbia, of Yugoslavia, if it's not Tito, something, can you recall something?
Well, Yugoslavia played a big role in our post-war history. At the beginning, after 1945, the negotiations on our state treaty had a big problem, namely the fact that Austria and Yugoslavia did not agree on the situation in South Carinthia. And the Soviet Union supported the position of Yugoslavia, what created problems for Austria. But then, when Tito broke with Stalin, and Stalin did not anymore support Yugoslavia, this part of the problem as a hurdle, as a fence vis-à-vis a successful state treaty was removed, and from there on the relations between Austria and Yugoslavia became much better and were improving. I also remember the day when Tito passed away, and the Austrian Prime Minister, also Kreisky, he was suffering on his kidney, and he said, "No, Tito, this is a man, I have to participate at the funeral." And he went to the funeral and came back with a lot of remarkable impressions. I fetched him from the airport, and he was full of impressions and memories, etc. That's also Yugoslavia. Do you know the name, or is it very familiar, Vuk Stefanović Karadžić?
Vuk Stefanović Karadžić?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, this is how I know how to write and read.
There was a Yugoslavian Vuk Stefanović Karadžić association here, and I was the president of that association, and so I had lots of contacts to Serbia in the 90s and in the 80s. This was interesting for me to. I have books about Stefanović Karadžić. He worked in the Austrian National Library.
Thank you so much, really. Znate kako, u ovom poslu vi imate veliki broj intervjua, imate veliki broj kontakata. Međutim, te kontakte, ako održavate veliki broj godina, vi nikada ne znate šta iz jednog takvog poznanstva može da se rodi. Sa gospođom Dojder Mackom razgovarala sam 2013. godine, upravo ovde u Beču. Tada smo razgovarali o gospodinu Fišeru. I to mi je bila želja. Prvo, hvala vam što ste mi omogućili ovaj intervju. Hvala vam mnogo.
Hvala lepa.
Hvala tebi.
Ja?
Ja. Danke dir.
Aha.